And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today we are going to be making one of my favorite things, which is chicken Parmesan. Although we are going to kind of take those flavors and combine it into an easy, quick casserole. Because the traditional chicken Parmesan, then you take chicken breast cutlets, generally it's chicken breast, boneless, skinless cutlets, bread them, fry them, and then assemble like a tomato marinara sauce and put the Parmesan cheese over it, and then you put it in the oven and bake it, and then you serve that generally over pasta. It is delicious and one of my favorite things, but it can be time consuming. So I take all of those flavors, combine it into a quick, easy casserole, bake it in the oven. In 25 minutes, it's done. So that's our main course for today. Then to go alongside it, we're going to make something I bet many of you have never had, and that is edamame, which are soybeans. They are the edamame are the pods, the soybeans, and we're going to take the edamame, we're going to roast them in the oven with some Italian seasoning and some Parmesan cheese. Then we're going to have for dessert a white chocolate strawberry shortcake. I love strawberry shortcake. It's right up there as one of, if not my favorite dessert. But we're going to make it a unique way. So let's get started on the chicken because that's actually going to take the longest. Now, I have in this pot some water that's coming up to a boil, and we're going to cook our pasta in that. But while that's coming up to a boil, I just have one rotisserie chicken that I bought at the grocery store. Now, I didn't have any leftover chicken, but this is one of those recipes that you absolutely could use your leftover chicken. Maybe you've made roast chicken or fried chicken or whatever kind of chicken you've made, and you've got some left over, and you're like, what do I do with that? Well, this is a great recipe for that because we're not going to be breading the chicken. So I am just taking this rotisserie chicken, and oftentimes I find these on sale for $3.99. This particular one was on sale at the grocery store for $3.99, ready to go. Well, you can't buy a chicken and cook it at home for $3.99, a whole chicken. And the rotisserie chickens that you buy in the grocery store are absolutely delicious. You've seen me use them many times. For me, it's very much a cooking staple ingredient because I find them just about anywhere, any grocery store, and I have yet to find a bad one. And they're just quick, easy, ready to go, and delicious. So I'm just picking off the meat off of the chicken. You can use all of the white meat and the dark meat, whatever you prefer in this particular recipe. Now, of course, traditional chicken Parmesan only has white meat, but this little chicken has a lot of dark meat on there that I'm going to use too. You could save the carcass in your freezer if you wanted to make some chicken stock. I'm not going to do that today, but you could. And then I'm going to take the skin off. You don't want the skin. Now, when these are fresh and hot, the skin is delicious, but this one has been in the refrigerator overnight, so I'm not going to use that skin. And I eat it all the time when it's just fresh roasted. I love it. But for this recipe, we really just want the meat. Chicken Parmesan is one of those things that even the pickiest of eaters will eat. And this casserole is one of those things that you could make even on your busiest day. You could totally assemble the ingredients ahead of time and then just pop it in the oven when you get home. You could absolutely do that if you wanted to do it ahead, although it really only takes a few minutes even to assemble it when you start with pre-cooked chicken. Now, if you did not have pre-cooked chicken, what would you do? Well, you could take some boneless, skinless chicken breasts and roast them in the oven. You could go ahead and cut them into bite-sized pieces and cook them in the skillet quickly if you wanted to. You don't want to start with raw chicken. So somehow you either need to roast your chicken or, buy it like this. I just love these little chickens. I know you hear me talk about these all the time because I do use them often. And many times, maybe I just don't have time to roast a chicken for dinner at night during the week, and I'll stop by somewhere and get one of these chickens or two of these chickens if I'm feeding my family. And then I'll just make some mashed potatoes and green beans, and there you go, boom, you've got dinner done. And for my family, this is just something we all love. So I've picked all the meat off, and all I want to do is cut it into bite-sized pieces. You could shred it with your fingers if you wanted to. You don't want any pieces too big. You want them all bite-sized, because remember, this is a casserole. This would be a wonderful dish to take to some, maybe you're having a church picnic, or, somebody's sick, or someone's passed away. How we do in the South. We take food to funerals. This would be one of those recipes that would be wonderful made ahead, and you could buy those little, one thing I want to encourage you to do. I know a lot of us, we love to take food to places. Don't take your dishes and have a responsibility for that family to have to keep up with who has what dish. In the grocery store, you can buy the disposable pans relatively inexpensive, and many times the stores will have them buy one, get one free, and sometimes I've even seen them buy one, get two free. So buy those disposable pans just as a courtesy. I know, and people appreciate you bringing the food, but sometimes it can be a headache to keep up with whose dish is what. So that's just a little easy tip for you. I bought this interesting book, and then I'm going to get off this subject, but I found this book online and I ordered it because I thought it sounded so interesting, and it's funeral customs from around the world. It was so interesting to me because it's a food-based cookbook of how the different cultures in the world, food is that common thread. And one of these days maybe I'll do a show where we talk about the different customs from around the world, because I thought it sounded fascinating. Great little book. Interesting little book, let me just say it that way. But it's got lots of recipes too from around the world, and I just found it very interesting. All right, so we put our chicken in our bowl, and I have just a regular glass Pyrex dish, the 9x13 size dish. My water is coming up to a boil. Remember, I said we never mix salt in your water until your the water comes up to a boil. So I'm going to add some salt because this is the only chance you have to flavor the pasta. And it's bland if you don't do this. So now what I'm using is just penne, which is this short tubular pasta. The reason that I use the penne pasta is because the little ridges, this particular brand has got ridges on there, but the little holes that are inside there, the sauce can get down in there and the cheese can get down in there. So I'm just adding one bag. This is a pound of penne pasta to that, and that needs to cook. You want to cook it till it's about al dente, which means, for those of you that don't know, al dente means in Italian to the tooth, but it's slightly less than completely tender because it's going to bake. So if you cook it until it's totally soft, it'll overcook in the oven and become mushy. We're going to take a quick break. When I come back, the pasta should be about done, the chicken, and then we'll finish assembling this and get it in the oven, and we'll move on to the edamame. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, now welcome back. We are making a chicken Parmesan casserole. Our chicken is in the bowl, our pasta is cooking. Because this uses a lot of quick cooking ingredients, we do need to add a little freshness. If fresh basil is in season, you want to use fresh basil. If not, just use like Italian seasoning or oregano or rosemary or something like that, because for me, let me just say it this way, for me, I do not care for dried basil. I just think it loses all of its flavor. Fresh basil has got this wonderful, delicious flavor on its own. I'm actually going to hold out, I'm going to chop it all. Let me show you an easy, quick way. Let me move my stuff out of the way here for just a second. You can see what I'm doing. This is beautiful basil that I bought at the grocery store. Look at these leaves, how gorgeous they are. Just stack them up. It's the easiest way to cut basil. And this is probably going to end up being about half a cup. Just stack them all together on those large leaves. The little ones you can just kind of put there in the middle. And roll them up, just like that. See how you've got that end there? And then cut through them in a fine little ribbon-like motion. This is called chiffonading. And it just makes like these pretty little ribbons. I did take the leaves off of these stems because the stems can be, if they're not completely tender and little, they can be a little tough. And you see that beautiful basil? Oh, it smells so good. This is one of my favorite ingredients for pizza. My favorite pizza is pizza. It's called Pizza Margherita. It was made for Queen Margherita. And it uses just pizza dough, sliced fresh mozzarella cheese, Roma tomatoes, and fresh basil baked. It is out of this world. Now I'm going to save a little bit just to go on the top. We also need another fresh herb, and this is just flat leaf Italian parsley. I do want to mention, and the reason I'm going to mention this is because yesterday when I was at the grocery store checking out, the young lady that was ringing up the groceries asked me, she said, "Now that's cilantro?" And I said, "Nope, that's fresh parsley, Italian parsley." Be careful when you shop for this ingredient, because parsley, flat leaf parsley, and cilantro look a whole lot alike, but they taste completely different. So be sure you read the label. Let me show you. I've washed this, but there's a little label on your ingredient. There always is. And you see it says Italian parsley on there. That's what you want, not cilantro. Two totally separate ingredients. And I promise you, as a person who hates cilantro, I know there are those, it's one of those things you're in one of two camps. You either love it or you hate it, and I'm in the hate camp. To me, it tastes soapy. The flavors are not even remotely similar, so be careful what you buy. Remember, just take the leaves off, put one end of your knife on your cutting board. For those of you that are just starting out in cooking, or maybe you've been cooking and you really have never discovered it, you need a good cutting board in your kitchen. It will last for years if you take care of it. I've had this one for years, and I love this cutting board. And I get asked all the time, where did you get that cutting board? I don't even remember. It's old. I mean, I've had it for probably 10 years, and it's just a wonderful board, but I take care of it. And you don't have to necessarily get one this thick, although I really do like that thickness, but get a good big cutting board so that you can work on it and have room for your different ingredients. All right, now we're going to add our herbs to our chicken. We are also going to use just a jarred marinara. This happens to be my favorite one. I'm going to add about half the jar right now, and then when I add the pasta, I'll see how much more I need. Probably I'm going to need the whole jar. And I'm going to go ahead and stir that together. And that's going to be the basis for our casserole. And I'm telling you, there's a quick little recipe for you just instantly. I just realized that would be delicious warmed just over spaghetti. Top it with some cheese. Boom, there you go. You got dinner done. I'm going to add some shredded mozzarella, about a cup and a half. Don't have to be precise. Add as much or as little cheese as you like. And then just some shredded Parmesan, which is my favorite cheese. And I'm going to set this aside till that is done. So let's move on for a moment to our side dish while that pasta is finishing cooking. And this is edamame. Now, in the grocery stores, typically, it'll come one of two ways. It'll come shelled or in the pod. Shelled, it will look like this. And I know it looks like lima beans, but they're not lima beans. They're actually little soybeans. They're called edamame. I found them in the frozen department of the grocery store. My store did not have shelled edamame like this, so I had to buy them in the pod. You cannot eat this pod, but what you can do is thaw them and then take your fingers and squeeze them out. It just takes a few minutes, not difficult at all. Just thaw them and they come right out. I just wanted to show you how to do them. See, I'm just literally just popping them out just like that. My pasta's about done. But this is a quick, easy side dish. Now, these are delicious just as is thawed. They always come frozen. I've never seen them fresh. On a salad, just like that. They are wonderful on a salad. Love them. But we're going to kind of jazz them up just a little bit. Well, don't spread them out right yet, Lisa. This was 2 bags, because I could eat all those myself. That was just about a teaspoon or so of Italian seasoning, dried Italian seasoning. You could use any kind of flavoring you want. A little bit of salt, and just a little bit of fresh ground pepper. A little olive oil or vegetable oil, whichever you have on hand. For quick roasting, I really like to use the olive oil. And then some Parmesan cheese. 375 to 400 degrees, about 10 minutes on a lined baking sheet. And you have a delicious, healthy side dish to go alongside your chicken Parmesan. And just kind of, pat them out to their one layer so they can roast. Get some of that cheese on top, and they're going to be so good. They're delicious on their own. They're also delicious just thawed, mixed with a little bit of chili powder and olive oil, and roast them the same as I'm going to do. They're a wonderful little snack. Let them cool, and they're great to just pop as a snack. That's delicious and healthy. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm just going to drain this, mix it with that, and when I come back, we're going to finish that, get it in the oven, and then we're going to start on dessert. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, now I drained my pasta and added the rest of that jar of marinara, and all I'm doing is stirring that up And I'm just telling you, I could eat that right now. I'm hungry. The pasta cooked for probably about a minute, maybe 2 minutes less than it calls for on the package, because again, I don't want to overcook it because it's going to bake in the oven. We're going to put this in a 375 degree oven for about 15 minutes. Then we're going to add that edamame and let it go for about 10 more minutes. So altogether, the chicken needs to cook for about 20 to 25 minutes at 375 degrees. And that looks delicious, but we're gonna make it even better because we're gonna add the rest of the cheese. We're gonna add some mozzarella on top. The rest of this is a 2-cup. I like the pre-shredded stuff. It's just easier for this kind of a dish. And then I actually bought a 1.5 cup bag of shredded Parmesan, and I'm just gonna add that on top of it. I've got a little bit of basil reserved over there, and I'm just gonna add that at the very end. I am gonna cover that with some non-stick aluminum foil. I'm telling you, this is my favorite little thing in the kitchen. It saves so much cleanup. The reason I like the non-stick for this, and make sure you get the non-stick side down to the cheese, because the cheese doesn't stick to it. So I'm just gonna get this in the oven, let it bake for about 15 minutes, then I'm gonna add the edamame, and when I come back, we're gonna finish up with dessert. All right, now let me show you what it looks like. Here is the casserole, completely baked. Now remember the basil, the fresh basil that we kept out? I did that for this very reason. At the very end, because I want to preserve just a little bit of that wonderful freshness, what I want to do is make sure everybody that gets a piece of this gets a little bite of basil, because that really, really does add that pop of freshness to the dish. Now, here are our delicious edamame. That cheese has just melted on there. They are so good. They are so, so, so good. You need to eat these. I promise you, you will love them. So let's get a serving of our casserole, our chicken Parmesan casserole. Look at that gooey cheese. Yum. Now, for dessert, what we're gonna make is strawberry shortcake. I bought a pound cake and I bought some strawberries, and all I did was now my pound cake was round, and I just cut it into cubes, little skewers, big pieces, because the little pieces don't want to work so hot. Then I cut my strawberries in half, because they were big. If they're little, just leave them whole. And then thread some pieces onto a skewer. This would be darling for your kids to do. Just make sure that you watch that point. For 4th of July, if you wanted to add some blueberries, you've got red, white, and blue little skewers. And then I'm just gonna lay them out on a plate. And I've got some already done, obviously. Then, in this bowl, all I did was mix about 1/2 cup of white chocolate chips and about a tablespoon of 1/2 and 1/2 or milk or whatever you have. 30 seconds in the microwave, boom, instant sauce. Actually, this is cooled just a hair. So I'm gonna stick it back in the microwave for about 5 seconds just to kind of warm it up. Great way to make any kind of a sauce. You could use chocolate, you could use caramel, you could use any flavor of those little chips that you want. I just happen to love the flavor of white chocolate with strawberries. I think it's delicious, but I like brown chocolate. And you could do both and make it even prettier. And then just take your glaze and drizzle it over top of your fruit. You could sprinkle it with a little coconut, and I think I will actually. For just a little bit. That's not the right tool, so let's get a spoon. Let's do this right. Oh, I could drink that. This mixture mixed in with some warmed milk is delicious, with maybe a little tiny bit of sugar as a hot chocolate, white hot chocolate. We make that here on the program, and it's so good. So there are your white chocolate drizzled strawberry shortcakes, which is probably my favorite dessert, honestly. I love strawberry shortcakes. And I think I will sprinkle just a little bit of coconut on there. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I love coconut. And just sprinkle just a touch. I don't even really have to toast it. I like it just straight out of the bag. Just a little bit of coconut on there just adds another layer of tropical flavor. And you really could mix that up any kind of fruit that you wanted to use. You could use grapes, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, anything you want. Cut up a banana, cut up, a cantaloupe would be good with that. You could totally do that. Or anything you want, star fruit, pineapple, whatever kind of fruit you want to do. I just love the strawberry shortcake flavors, and I buy these pound cakes quite often and just macerate my strawberries with a little sugar and let them ooze their juices, and then make a wonderful strawberry shortcake with some Cool Whip. If you had some whipped topping, you could spray that over top if you wanted to. But there is a quick, easy, delicious meal that you can make any time of the week, even on your busiest day. Our wonderful chicken Parmesan casserole, our roasted edamame with some Parmesan cheese and Italian seasoning, and our dessert, our strawberry shortcake kebabs with some coconut sprinkled on there.
Thank you for watching Everyday Manna with Lisa. This program is made possible by viewers like you. Your support is continually needed to keep Christian programming on the air. Please send your best financial gift to Living Faith Television in care of Everyday Manna, P.O. Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia 24212.